Did you know that the US economy is dangerously close to a meltdown? It's true. From record-breaking unemployment to skyrocketing inflation, from unprecedented job losses to an increase in food insecurity, these facts will show just how fragile our economic situation is right now. In this video, we'll be exploring 10 facts that prove the US economy is close to collapse. Let's get started. Number 1. Record-breaking unemployment rates, with the U.S. workforce losing 140 million jobs in 2020 alone. The U.S. workforce has lost a staggering 1.3 million jobs in 2020 alone, which is the highest level of unemployment since the Great Depression. This points to an economy close to a meltdown, as people are not able to find employment and support themselves. The rapid rise in unemployment has also been accompanied by a drop in consumer spending, another indication that people are struggling to make ends meet in the current climate. This has resulted in businesses being unable to maintain their operations, with many having closed down as a result. The economic impact of the pandemic has been vast, with many industries facing challenges from the lack of demand for goods and services. The U.S. job market has also seen significant decline since the start of the pandemic. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that 14.7% of Americans were unemployed in April 2020, compared to 3.5% in April 2019. This is an increase of 11.2% in just 1 year, making it the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression in 1933. Additionally, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that in December 2022, there was a total of 5.35 million people unemployed across the United States, with an average unemployment rate of 3.7%. The stock market has also experienced turbulent times, with massive losses registered in some of the largest companies. The Federal Reserve has had to inject trillions of dollars into the markets in order to prop them up, money that could have been used for other purposes. This has resulted in the U.S. national debt reaching record levels, with no clear indication of how this will be dealt with going forward. Number 2. Historic drops in housing sales and prices since the pandemic began. Since the start of the pandemic, there has been a dramatic decrease in housing sales and prices. The U.S. Census Bureau reported a sharp drop in new home sales from April to May 2020, the largest month-over-month change of negative 9.7% since 2009. CNBC further reports that sales declined 44.3% from a year earlier, the lowest level since February 2011. The decrease in sales can also be seen in housing prices. According to Zillow, U.S. home values have fallen 8.3% from April 2019 to April 2020 and 3.7% from March 2020 to April 2020. This is the first time since 2011 that there has been an annual decline in home prices. In November 2022, existing home sales in the U.S. have plummeted 7.7% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.09 million. With such drastic drops in sales and prices, it is clear that the U.S. housing market has been drastically affected by the pandemic and its devastating economic consequences. Number 3. A staggering rise in construction costs due to reduced labor available and increased demand for materials. The U.S. economy is showing signs of strain as construction costs continue to rise due to a shortage of available labor and increased demand for materials. This has been driven by an increase in the cost of labor, with wages rising faster than inflation over the past year. The recent announcement of the CBRE's Construction Cost Index is an alarming sign. The forecasted 14.1% cost increase in construction costs by year-end 2022 and subsequent stabilization at the 2 to 4% range in 2023 and 2024 is much higher than the historical averages. Furthermore, material prices have also risen sharply, particularly for those materials that are used in construction and manufacturing industries. This has resulted in a significant rise in overall cost for projects, leading to delays and uncertainty that threaten to derail the U.S. economy's already fragile recovery. The economy's near-term outlook is uncertain, and the increase in construction costs could be a major factor in tipping the scales toward recession. The increased costs make it difficult for businesses to plan and execute projects, which could lead to decreased productivity in the long term. This could have a ripple effect on the economy as a whole, leading to further economic pain in the near future. Number 4. Layoffs are on the rise across industries, with the manufacturing sector being hit the hardest. Layoffs are on the rise across industries, with the manufacturing sector being hit the hardest in 2023. This is evidenced by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who reported that since the start of the pandemic, more than 1.4 million manufacturing jobs have been lost within the U.S. alone. The scale of job losses in this sector is unprecedented and shows that it is in a state of severe distress. This is particularly worrying, as the manufacturing sector has long been seen as one of the key drivers of economic growth within the U.S. economy. Its downturn could be indicative of a much larger problem brewing beneath the surface and may portend even worse financial misfortune for citizens living in America. The situation is further compounded by the fact that wages are also declining, with a report from the Economic Policy Institute revealing reduced wage growth in multiple sectors. This suggests that individuals who find new jobs will still be subject to lower pay than before, making it even more difficult for them to make ends meet. Together, these two factors form a worrying picture for the U.S. economy and are signs that it might be heading towards an imminent meltdown. Number 5. Over 2/3 of Americans expect the economy to get worse in 2023, showing a lack of consumer confidence. The lack of consumer confidence is an alarming indicator that the U.S. economy is on a precarious course and could be approaching a meltdown. This sentiment has been reflected in multiple surveys and polls, including one by Gallup, which showed that more Americans think the U.S. economy is getting worse rather than better. According to a survey by the Wall Street Journal, the gas price reduction and inflation pause in 2022 was not enough to change sentiment on the risk of a recession. This further reinforces the notion that many people are expecting a downturn in economic growth and lack faith in government policies to prevent it. These facts point to an economy that is close to a meltdown, with Americans losing trust in their government and economic institutions. The lack of consumer confidence is a clear warning sign that the U.S. economy could be on the brink of collapse. It's time for our government to take action and implement policies that will promote sustainable economic growth. Only then will the U.S. economy be able to avoid a potential meltdown. The time for action is now. The future of the country and economy depend on it. It's up to us to take action and ensure our economic future remains strong and secure. Other signs of economic instability are also emerging. Unemployment remains high, with more than 10.1 million Americans still out of work. Inflation is on the rise as prices for items such as food, gas, and housing continue to increase. And the national debt has ballooned to an all-time high. All of these factors add up to a troubling economic outlook, suggesting that the U.S. economy is close to a meltdown. Number 6. About 70% of economists predict that the U.S. will face a recession in 2023 if current trends continue. According to a survey conducted by the National Association for Business Economics, around 70% of economists predict that the U.S. economy is close to experiencing a recession in 2023 if current trends continue. The findings of the survey suggest several key economic factors, such as weak consumer spending, low inflation, and slow job growth, are contributing to an overall weakening of the economy, which could result in an economic downturn within the next few years. There is a possibility of further trade wars with other countries, as well as being impacted by any negative impacts of Brexit and policies resulting from the new presidential administration. The survey also suggested that while some sectors may remain resilient during this period, others such as retail, hospitality, and manufacturing are likely to be significantly impacted. The potential of a U.S. recession could have a global ripple effect, as the U.S. economy is already closely intertwined with many economies around the world. It's important for individuals and businesses to be prepared for any downturns in the near future. By understanding current trends, recognizing signs of economic weakness, and performing regular financial checkups, you can ensure that you and your business are financially prepared for any downturns in the future. In this way, you can help to protect yourself from any potential financial hardship during a recession period. Number 7. Inflation is out of control, reaching 6.5% in December 2022. Inflation is a major indicator of economic health, and with the Consumer Price Index increasing by 6.5% in 2022, this means that prices are rising faster than wages, leaving consumers unable to purchase essential goods and services they need. Sadly, in 2022, inflation continued to skyrocket, with the rate peaking at 9.1% in June. This is a stark contrast to the 1.6%, 2.6%, and 3.2% levels seen in 2020, 2019, and 2018 respectively. High inflation also puts strain on businesses, as their increasing costs are not being offset by higher sales. This can lead to layoffs and businesses closing, both of which are signs that the U.S. economy is in trouble. The Federal Reserve has implemented policies to try and address this issue, but as yet it has not been successful in reining in inflation. Number 8. Egg and vegetable prices have skyrocketed since the start of the pandemic, resulting in an increase in food insecurity for millions of Americans. The coronavirus pandemic has caused egg and vegetable prices to skyrocket in the United States. This is due to a combination of supply chain issues, food waste, and an increase in demand. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, retail egg prices increased 11.1% in December 2022 and reached 59.9% above December 2021 prices. Furthermore, vegetables such as lettuce and broccoli saw prices increase by 24% and 22% respectively. This is leading to an increased level of food insecurity for millions of Americans, with the USDA estimating that 17 million households experienced food insecurity in 2020. The rising costs of food, in combination with other economic challenges, such as job losses due to the pandemic, are putting immense strain on Americans, further exacerbating the economic crisis. The U.S. economic growth rate has plummeted over the past year. In 2020, the American economy shrank by 3.5%, its worst downturn since 1946. Number 9. The U.S. population is living paycheck to paycheck, meaning that any rapid economic shift could cause a financial crisis for many. The U.S. population is also carrying a total of $14 trillion in debt, which includes mortgages, credit cards, student loans, and auto loans. This massive amount of debt has many worried about the effects of an economic downturn on individual households. In addition, economic growth has slowed significantly in the past few years, with the U.S. economy growing just 2.2% compared to the 3.9% average of recent decades. This signals a weakening of consumer spending power, which could cause further issues if it continues. The U.S. also has a current account deficit, meaning more money is leaving the U.S. economy than coming in. This can lead to a situation where an economy cannot cover its debts and falters. This, combined with high levels of debt, has many experts worried about the potential for an economic meltdown in the near future. Number 10. The U.S. government has taken on a massive amount of debt in order to finance the pandemic, with no indication that it will be able to pay this debt off anytime soon. The U.S. government has taken on a massive amount of debt in order to finance the coronavirus pandemic. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the federal deficit for fiscal 2020 was $3.1 trillion, more than double the previous record set during the Great Recession of 2009. The national debt has been steadily increasing over the past decade and is now at an all-time high. In December 2022 alone, it cost $210 billion to cover the interest payments on this debt. This represents a staggering 15% of total federal spending, indicating just how serious this situation is becoming. In addition, Congress has just passed additional spending packages since then, meaning the debt continues to rise. Despite the government's efforts to stimulate the economy and pay down the debt, there is no indication that it will be able to do so anytime soon. This has caused concern among economists, as increasing levels of debt can become unsustainable and lead to a financial crisis. The U.S. economy is also being weighed down by the ongoing trade war with China. The Trump administration has placed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, resulting in retaliatory measures from Beijing and a loss of jobs and wages for American workers. This has caused uncertainty in the stock markets and a lack of consumer confidence, which has put a further strain on an already fragile economy. It is likely that the U.S. economy in 2023 will be facing a variety of issues, including high levels of debt, slow economic growth, and ongoing trade wars. Additionally, it is likely that food prices and interest payments on government debt will remain high and could potentially worsen if further stimulus packages are not passed. In order to avoid a full-blown economic meltdown, it is essential that the U.S. government and citizens take proactive steps to ensure financial stability in the years ahead. This could include reducing spending on non-essential items, increasing taxes to pay down debt, and negotiating better trade deals with other countries. Only time will tell if such measures are enough to prevent a financial crisis, but it is clear that action must be taken now in order to ensure the long-term health of the U.S. economy. What are your views on it? What precautionary measures should be taken by the government to survive this economic crisis? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and share it with your friends. For more economic news and analysis, make sure to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more updates. Until next time, goodbye.